Sexuality is a system which encompasses emotions, sex, intimacy, and identity. Human sexuality is so important that it has been defined by the World Health Organization as a central aspect of human beings throughout their lifespan. And for you, to what extent does your sexuality define who you are? How do you live your life, and how do you express your sexuality? Imagine if you had to hide this part of yourself from your friends and family. How would you feel? How would these secrets affect your personal and professional life? As we proceed, we will explore all this and more, using the Dominican Republic and Jamaica as examples, two Caribbean countries that share a common reality.
Dos países caribeños que comparten una misma realidad.
I have a girlfriend. I have a 7-year-old daughter. We have been living together for almost 7 years. Sometimes things are good, sometimes bad. But you know, every relationship has its ups and downs. Apart from that, though, I have a second life here in Santo Domingo. Maybe my girlfriend suspects something, but it will be hard for her to accept. Honestly, I'm struggling. The truth is, I have strong feelings for men too. All I've ever desired is to stay a part of my family, but families can be very judgmental. It would be a huge problem if they knew I have a masculine partner, a man like myself. It would be a problem, you know, a discreet profile nobody else can know. Many of my friends know the real me. They know that I like that life, you know, but up until now I haven't kept it a secret. I don't say anything because they won't understand until now.
Pero hasta ahora me han guardado el secreto que yo sepa, ¿tú me entiendes? Hasta ahora.
On a daily basis, stigma and discrimination can cost people their family, friends, employment, and even their own health and lives. These factors usually culminate in violent and inhumane acts. These dangers are exactly what many men who have sex with men want to avoid. They hide behind a more culturally acceptable masculine identity at the cost of their own personal suffering and the pain and suffering of their loved ones, and sometimes to the detriment of the fight against the HIV epidemic. In most Caribbean countries, there are laws that criminalize sexual relationships between persons of the same sex. In the Spanish Caribbean, the culture of male chauvinism and discrimination results in the existence of social sanctions for men who have sex with men. This causes many to become indecisive and not want to assume a homosexual or bisexual identity.
The truth is that I don't walk around looking for sex with other men. I don't do that. It just happened at a particular moment in my life. The moment came up and it just happened. What will always happen is that at a particular moment in time, I will find myself with a woman and I didn't need her to be there. And above all, I always had feelings for another person. There was a strong desire to have a separate male friend more than a friend. How do I explain myself? It's a question I have a firm response to, but I don't know how to articulate.
I'm neither the dirty Batman, the gay, nor the bisexual. I'm the youth who will leave the question over your head at all given times. I'm the youth that you shouldn't know about at any given time. The person who is there, but is not there. I'm the youth that you see on the streets and say, didn't we see that guy at a gay party on Friday? And someone else is going to say no. The person that is there, but not there. The person not on the scene. If the undercover role is played right, You will go through life smooth as it pertains to the homophobic relations in Jamaica. Because people will always have a question sign. And as long as they don't have an answer to that question, it leaves them hanging.
An answer to that question, leave them hanging. You know?
With the gay situation, it's best to keep it on a low profile because you have some people you cannot get involved with. In the long run, it's best to keep yourself on the down low because where I'm from, I can't let people know. So I have to keep it a secret. I move like I'm not gay in order to protect my life. I am well known with responsibilities. I have to keep my thing on the down low. I can't find myself coming out of the dark.
My father once told me
that if he found out that I'm gay, he would use his gun and shoot me himself. So I am keeping it on a down low.
Right now, I'm in the prime of my sexual life, and I'm living in the moment. It was a process which took a long time, and I had mixed feelings on a daily basis. I felt that no one approved of my sexual life. I had a lot of confusion in the beginning when I didn't want to accept my sexuality. I kept trying to find ways to condemn my thoughts. The difference between me and other gay men is that I've had the same sexual status, but not the same social status. Not two persons have the same luck, but that is my reality.
Pero esa es mi realidad.
In Jamaica, it well risky with we most time.
In Jamaica, it's very risky with us because of people who claim they are straight. So we have to keep it down.
Are them not in it? Them try to do ones that say they are gay all the while. So we just, because of that, we always have to keep it down low.
Do you in the future want to live in a Jamaica where a gay man or a gay woman can be in the cabinet?
Sure, they can be in the cabinet, not mine.
Well, they can't be in yours.
Not mine.
No, but do you want to live in Jamaica where they can be in a
This is an indication that homophobia can escalate even to the highest level of our society. In 2011, in the Dominican Republic, there was an incident in which the authorities decided that the LGBT citizens were not worthy of carrying the national flag on Pride Day, despite the fact that they were just like any other.
At the end, after 2 hours, they had to concede and give the flag back to us, like the decent Dominican citizen that we are, capable of holding any type of patriotic symbol we like.
Hate crimes, discrimination, lack of police and judicial security are the reasons why men decide to remain in the closet. Is this matter only of concern to this particular population, or does it affect all of society? What are the consequences?
You have to live in such a way that you practically have to fake who you are for your entire life. And it is really a terrible situation that you have to pretend you are basically what you are not.
One of the greatest tragedies of all this phenomenon of secrecy is that it affects every single aspect of a person's life, because he has to hide a very important part of who he is. He has to come to grips with this aspect of his sexuality.
I will go as far as having 2 of my girlfriends and 2 of my boyfriends in one venue. Regularly, my girlfriend and I are going out, and my boyfriend comes with us. I regulate it in such a way that the boyfriend knows that she's the girlfriend, but the girlfriend doesn't know. She thinks it's just another guy.
I'm in a relationship with a woman, and we have a family together. She's a great lady. She knows absolutely nothing, and I don't want to imagine where my life would be without her.
We who have this condition, we have a fear that we'll be rejected. We live with this fear day in and day out permanently.
The men who have sex with men, but in a clandestine manner, do it because they fear exposure. If a man gets fired for having sexual relationship with another man, there is no legal action that he can take in Jamaica or the Dominican Republic. And he has to assume a double life that carries the consequence of extortion, risky sexual relationship, low self-esteem, sadness, and suffering in sadness.
We are not only talking about the sexually transmitted diseases or HIV, we are also talking about the possibility of living in fear or living a life that is dominated by violence.
I move like I'm not gay in order to protect my life. I am well known with responsibilities. I have to keep my thing on the down low. I can't find myself coming out of the dark.
I can remember over 10 years ago, this friend of mine, who was a bus driver, brought home a friend, and because he couldn't take him into his house, they stayed in the bus. Someone passed and heard what was happening and sounded an alarm. The most disgraceful thing happened, and police got involved. The police took them to the station to calm down the situation. He moved out of the community, and then someone called and told me that they burned down his house, and he got burnt up in there. I read in the papers that it was because he was gay.
Come back in the paper if you say boy, just because the person was gay.
First and foremost, from you are playing this game, first risk I would say I face is I'm taking a big HIV risk with my life. Even though I use protection, it can break. I can also get a disease in my mouth from kissing, so it gets me scared. That's the first danger which I put above that of the little Jamaican homophobic mentality in Jamaica. Because you get it through sex, and that's where it starts. My health comes first when it comes to gay men. Secondly, the homophobic mentality in Jamaica. The mentality where if they hear that you are gay, you are chased, beaten, and killed.
A set of people just want to hear say a Batman just run down upon you and start beating and kill you.
In a homophobic society, a man who has sex with a man has to try to balance the socioeconomic stability on one side and on the other side, his sexual identity. Many of them marry and have kids, and this results in very unfortunate consequences for everyone.
Muy lamentables para todos.
Everyone is affected when a person remains in the closet. It affects those who are married, and obviously many of them are. Their wives often don't understand what is going on and start asking all kinds of questions, like how did all of this come about? I've seen cases where, for example, it has lowered women's self-esteem because they think it has to do with them, that they are the problem, because they realize that they're not able to completely satisfy their husband.
He told me that his first experience was with a man. That made me feel bad in the relationship, and I know that he will never leave that lifestyle.
A man who has a clear sexual orientation and is aware of it, but thinks, I'm going to get married because I'm not going to confront this process. My family expects me to get married. Basically, this is a sad situation because he's consciously deciding to deny his identity. He's not going to accept what is, but instead, I need to get married, I need to have kids because that is what is expected of me.
Families are created from a false foundation. In my practice, I had a man confess to me that he was going to get married because in his job, they weren't going to promote him unless he was married. This man lasted 1 year in that life in order to grow. But then he started looking for a male partner, and that's where the problem started.
If I had to compare the two, I feel more fulfilled having sex with a man.
We've seen cases where this has led to depression and feelings of low self-esteem.
How do you think his children will feel later on? They come from a man who married a woman because he wanted to improve his social status.
This also, of course, affects the children because they're not stupid. They perceive all of this and they realize that there is disharmony in their parents' relationship.
Sometimes I ask, what if a child grows up and starts wondering to himself, what really happened or what did I do?
In addition to these implications that affect so many individuals, families, and the social environment, the consequences go far beyond what we can imagine and affect everyone in society. For example, in terms of educational programs on STI prevention, for the research initiatives, it is very difficult to work with a population that lives in total secrecy. They are not easily identified.
Yes. It's a big problem in the medical profession because when such a man visits a doctor, he may suspect that he has sexually transmitted infection. But since he doesn't reveal his condition that he has sex with other men, sometimes the medical evaluation is not as complete as it should be. Because right when a man arrives, the natural tendency is to ask, do you have a wife, children? Nobody asks the other question, are you having sex with other men?
Estos grupos son invisibles ante
These groups of men who have sex with men are invisible and are not even considered part of the statistics. They are left out of the conversation around HIV and AIDS. But this roadblock in the path against HIV/AIDS can also be found paradoxically in those very entities charged with protecting and safeguarding the well-being of a country's citizens and populations. We are talking about the lawmakers, the governments in the Caribbean. It is not a coincidence that the rates of HIV/AIDS are higher in the most homophobic countries where the human rights of LGBT citizens are not affirmed in legal codes or elsewhere.
Men who do not identify as gay are a very diverse group of men. Their realities are often very different. Some are married, others are not. Some are living double lives. With this type of diversity, it's difficult to devise strategies to mobilize and unite these subgroups.
These men who live a life of secrecy look for a way to fit in, like all men, to access education, information, but education in regards to their situation. Because, for example, if a man who has sex with men goes to an educational talk for a straight man, is going to come away from it with very little. The same will happen with a group for gay men, because they will not talk about women. Therefore, we need to talk about the realities facing gay men, and for this, we must educate them.
He never wanted to go to the doctor because he was afraid that something will go wrong, because they will realize and ask why he was sick.
I feel that in the Dominican Republic, no health program exists for gay men or bisexual men. In reality, these men go to STI clinics and face the difficulties which we are talking about.
El tema de la discriminación.
The theme of discrimination based on sexual orientation was not included in the new constitution in the Dominican Republic. And in Jamaica, there is still a law that promotes hatred against homosexuals dating from the era of colonization.
homophobic stance in Jamaica, the laws also...
The homophobic culture, laws and heads of government help to foster the hate against people who are gay, lesbians and bisexuals, so people don't want to come out. People will do their thing and keep it undercover. And in order to keep it undercover, they will have 2, 3, 4, 5 girls to remove the focus. It's a shift in the focus, so you could say, that's a girl's man. So if somebody should say that they have seen this guy with a lot of men, others would say no. That's how it is in Jamaica, right across the society. The rich do it, and also the very poor.
And also the very poor.
When the system, when it changed in Jamaica,
when the system changes in Jamaica as to how the gay people are dealt with, maybe at that time I will come out. Not to say just like a woman, but you can say, yes, I am gay too, but only when it changes. I feel it will change in time to come, and everyone will be allowed to live how they want to live.
To live at all. For them, we all them want to live.
Living in a homophobic community.
Living in a homophobic community. There are things people are not comfortable with, and there are things you want to talk about that they are not comfortable with. So you have to go out of that community and find somewhere more comfortable. It is not safe for you because the same people you talk to might scandal you, and it can cost you your life.
And it can cost your life.
We're learning that the people who suffer the highest rates of this epidemic are the ones who are forced to live out their sexuality in secret. It doesn't matter if you're homosexual or heterosexual, or the number of partners you have in your life. If you have to keep your sexuality a secret, or if you buy sex in a quick and unfortunate fashion, this is what makes someone vulnerable to HIV. Not necessarily that you may have one identity or another.
The effectiveness of the response to HIV or AIDS depends greatly on the access to programs of prevention, the continuum of care, tests, and the attention to the population. Discrimination and homophobia impedes the identification of this part of the population, setting them apart and condemning them, impeding the agencies that work to weaken the epidemic until at the end of the day, no one wins and everyone is left affected. Sexuality is a system which encompasses emotions, sex, intimacy, and identity. Human sexuality is so important that it has been defined by the World Health Organization as a central aspect of human beings throughout their lifespan. And for you, to what extent does your sexuality define who you are? How do you live your life, and how do you express your sexuality? Imagine if you had to hide this part of yourself from your friends and family. How would you feel? How would these secrets affect your personal and professional life? As we proceed, we will explore all this and more using epidemic. In most Caribbean countries, there are laws that criminalize sexual relationship between persons of the same sex. In the Spanish Caribbean, the culture of male chauvinism and discrimination results in the existence of social sanctions for men who have sex with men. This causes many to become indecisive and not want to assume a homosexual or bisexual identity.
The truth is that I don't walk around looking for sex with other men. I don't do that. It just happened at a particular moment in my life. The moment came up and it just happened. What will always happen is that at a particular moment in time, I will find myself with a woman and I didn't need her to be there. And above all,
the Dominican Republic and Jamaica as examples. Two Caribbean countries that share a common reality.
Dos países caribeños que comparten una misma realidad.
I have a girlfriend. I have a 7-year-old daughter. We have been living together for almost 7 years. Sometimes things are good, sometimes bad. But you know, every relationship has its ups and downs. Apart from that, though, I have a second life here in Santo Domingo. Maybe my girlfriend suspects something, but it will be hard for her to accept. Honestly, I'm struggling. The truth is, I have strong feelings for men too. All I've ever desired is to stay a part of my family, but families can be very judgmental. It would be a huge problem if they knew I have a masculine partner, a man like myself. It would be a problem, you know, a discreet profile nobody else can know. Many of my friends know the real me. They know that I like that life, you know, but up until now I have to keep it a secret. I don't say anything because they won't understand up until now.
Pero hasta ahora me han guardado el secreto que yo sepa, ¿tú me entiendes? Hasta ahora.
On a daily basis, stigma and discrimination can cost people their family, friends, employment, and even their own health and lives. These factors usually culminate in violent and inhumane acts. These dangers are exactly what many men who have sex with men want to avoid. They hide behind a more culturally acceptable masculine identity at the cost of their own personal suffering and the pain and suffering of their loved ones, and sometimes to the detriment of the fight against the HIV epidemic.